Okay, Shannon, you can put us on the record now.
Okay.
Okay, this is the matter of the estate of Georgia Edmonds. Mr. Rick is here on behalf of the personal representative. Ms. Delissa Glenn is present, who has filed objections to the, well, I'm sorry. She filed a petition for removal of personal representative and appointment of successor that I think also included some complaints about the inventory. Unfortunately, Mr. Rick, it looks like you might have gotten a more complete petition than I did. The petition I got was a single page that really didn't have any ground stated in it. So let me ask you, Ms. Glenn, what if you could just tell me what is your reason for removal, asking the court to remove Ms. Gant and to appoint a successor?
Well, basically, Your Honor, the inventory, I sent pictures along with the request. Now, the inventory, according to the law, is supposed to include all personal property, and it further defines personal property as being clothes, lighting, light fixtures, furniture, that type of thing, shoes, that type of thing. And then it says that the inventory is also to include the estate property. Now, in the inventory that they forwarded to the court, it does not anywhere show any personal property items. The picture that I included also shows that there is a boat in the backyard, doesn't list the boat, doesn't show pricing, doesn't show any type of value, depreciated or otherwise, for the boat. There's a tool shed there in that picture that I sent to you. Doesn't show the items that are listed that are contained in that tool shed. Doesn't show the value for any of those items. And I feel that that right within itself indicates theft, defines theft according to the probate laws.
What you're suggesting is that because none of the personal property is listed, that must mean that the personal representative has stolen those items?
Or intends to steal them, Your Honor, because they're there.
Okay.
They're right there. And that was one of the things that we had pointed out at the very beginning of this appointment, was that there were items missing from the home. My aunt, Jacqueline Gilmat, she specifically said that she had purchased certain pieces of jewelry for my grandfather. There were other things, a mother's ring that she had purchased for my grandmother. And we had been advised at that time, some of those items had been removed from the home by personal representative and other relatives. And that was one of the things that you had stated, was you were going to look out for in the inventory, was to see whether or not those things were presented.
All right, Mr. Rick, I never did a lot of probate administration, but whenever I've seen an inventory, I've at least seen a listing of personal property, even in a very, household furnishings, value $100 or whatever. Let me find what date was the inventory filed so I can put my finger on it?
Okay, let me get to it here, Your Honor. It was sent to the court March 12th of 2020.
All right, let me see if I can put my finger on it.
Yeah, so I will admit that's not on there. I agree with you. Normally, I do include that in inventory, even if the personal representative doesn't feel it's worth it. I think the thought process here was just that, yes, certainly there are items of personal property. They're not really likely to bring much value if they were to be auctioned. But, we certainly can amend the inventory to state, tangible personal property, a couple $1,000s or something that would satisfy Ms. Glenn. I'm very confident there's no intent to steal from the estate. Those items are, if there's anything on the property, they either belong to the estate or someone else individually, and they'll be handled appropriately.
Yeah, typically you wouldn't, well, let me back up. Give me the filing date again.
It was sent to the court March 12th, so I'm not sure what day it was actually filed, but it should be early March, mid-March, 2020.
Right,
March 17th, Judge.
I'm working my way through. Yeah, I jumped from, would it be in the clip normally?
March 17th is when I have it docketed.
So I've got an objection that's dated as being filed May 15th of 2020. And then the next thing before that is something dated December 5, 2019. Oh, and then I turn around and I do see something dated in March. So apparently those might have just been attachments to something else that was filed. All right, I have it now. The only thing listed is the real estate listed at 33.3, which I assume is twice the equalized value.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing else listed. I've seen a picture that shows at least a refrigerator. I don't know if it's in working order. Ms. Glenn says, and I'm not doubting that she sent this, I'm just having trouble putting my finger on it, a picture of a boat that doesn't show up. And while it may have somewhat limited value, I'm sure it still has some value. I've seen pictures of other household furnishings. Again, I don't, I have no reason to question that they're probably not of great value, but there's some value there. Even if a yard sale was held, I'm sure we could realize some value from that stuff. I think at a minimum, known items, even if I don't expect you to go out and get appraisals of clothing and used furniture, etc. But there has to be some value there, unless it all needs to be thrown away. And let me ask, why? Is there any reason this house hasn't been sold yet?
Well, Your Honor, I'll just be honest with you and tell you that I agree that needs to happen. I've been telling Ms. Gant that we need to do that. I know that COVID has posed some problems. There's two tenants in the house right now. One of them is Ms. Glenn's son, and another is a son of Georgia Edmonds. And so we did send a notice to quit out to Lisa's son, and we've not pursued that because of COVID. But I think we can do that now. And I told Ms. Gant we need to list with the realtor. I will press her on that. If the court wants to order that the house be sold, I would not oppose that.
Well, I'm sure you wouldn't, because you're trying to get money that you feel like you've been owed ever since you started this representation of Ms. Gant.
All right, hold on, Ms. Glenn. I'll give you a chance to talk.
Yes, sir.
This house needs to be sold. The real estate market is hot. people are looking for homes. I don't know where this particular house is located and whether sales in that neighborhood reflect sales on the market as a whole, but it absolutely needs to be sold. And an amended inventory needs to be filed that lists at least the items that I see in the picture. Now, I get if some of those items belong to a tenant and that's established, they wouldn't be listed. But are these tenants paying rent?
My understanding is they're not, although they're contributing towards utilities and taxes.
I think they need to be booted out as quickly as you can make that happen. My understanding is there's no longer any kind of a moratorium on eviction actions. That house needs to be emptied of occupants and it needs to be sold as quickly as possible. I want to see an amended inventory filed. I'll give you 21 days to do that. You can anticipate there may be some objections to that inventory if it doesn't list some of the things that Ms. Glenn has already raised. Now, I get that there may be some contest as to who the boat belongs to or what's in the tool shed or anything of that nature, but so let me ask the question, was Ms. Edmonds living in the house at or near her time of death?
Lisa may know better than I, but my understanding is that she was.
All right, so certainly whatever was there when she died, we've got pictures of a number of things. If those pictures were taken at or near the time of her death, I would expect them to be listed on an inventory. Now, it can simply say household furnishings and put a value to that. I don't require that every article of clothing, every piece of furniture be listed, but some attempt to come up with a value, even though I realize it might not be great. Used furniture is used furniture. If there were jewelry items in the home at the time of death, those absolutely should be listed. And some attempt at valuing. I know a lot of times what will happen is you can take the jewelry to a jewelry store and they'll give you some idea of the value. But if it's not listed, I'm going to have to assume it's gone, and that might pose some inquiry and the need for me to take some testimony to determine what happened to it. But before we go down that road, I want to at least see a more complete inventory filed. I'll give you 21 days to do that. And Ms. Glenn, once you get that, you will have the ability to renew your whatever objections you might have to what might be missing from it. But then we need to move forward and get this house sold. Evict the tenants, get the house on the market so that it can be sold and value realized for the estate. Ms. Glenn, I don't know if this addresses all your concerns, but I'm willing to listen to them.
No, sir, Your Honor, it doesn't. But for another thing is, like Mr. Rick said, is when you say the word tenant defined legally means a paying individual in the home. Now, it is my understanding that my son and my uncle, they have been paying rent. And like Mr. Rick just did openly confide that they have been also paying the taxes and paying other utilities. Now there should be a ledger. There should be over 2 years, Mr. Rick, who you placed in charge to assist with getting these things structured, getting the estate structured, and getting whatever concerns or whatever's going on in the estate properly presented to the court. It's been 2 years. Again, there should be a ledger, of whatever amounts that has been paid to either Miss Gant or to Mr. Rick, referencing where these individuals that have been living in the home is concerned. I have seen none of that. Whatever money they have put into the estate as a result of their residence there should be some listing, financial postings of that. I don't see any of that. Mr. Rick has not presented any of that to the court, and he's not presenting any reasons as to why those things have not been brought to the court's attention. Again,
So Ms., you can list more things, but let me just address this. So what you're asking for is an accounting. It's appropriate. Mr. Rick, when is an accounting typically done? Is it simply a final account?
No, you are supposed to do annual accountings, Your Honor, and we have not done those. I admit that. And, honestly, we've just viewed this as a fairly simple estate. I mean, I reassert, I do not believe there has been rent paid. I'll confirm that with my client, but she has told me that there's not been rent paid. The only things that these two persons have contributed is money towards the expenses of their occupancy of the house, frankly.
All right, so I do want then, would appear, since we're 18, there's at least two accountings. I don't have the date the petition was filed.
The estate was opened on November 26th of 2019.
Oh, okay. So we should have an accounting filed for the first year. Well, I'm seeing something that it's a 2018 file.
Yes, there were things that were, this estate took a while to get opened, Your Honor, just because there was some question about who was going to be appointed personal representative.
I got you. And that was when it was still in front of Judge Rapley?
Correct.
All right. So when the estate was officially open would be our start date. So yes. It looks like then we're absolutely due the first annual accounting. I would expect that accounting to be thorough. I want that to be filed within 21 days of today's date as well. And Ms. Glenn, you will have an opportunity to object to that accounting if you see that there are things in it that shouldn't be, or things that are not in it that should be. And I didn't mean to cut you off. I just wanted to address things as you raised them. So you had some other concerns?
Yeah, because yep, that was the one concern basically, is that the estate, any money that's been put into the estate from the tenants that has resided in the home for over 2 years, that should all be accounted for, and that should all be presented, to the heirs and to the courts. And if there's, for some reason, that over these past 2 years that has not been done, other than Mr. Rick's saying that it's just a small estate and this and that, then there should be a little bit more in-depth explanation provided for.
All right. Well, I've addressed that by ordering an accounting. An accounting is supposed to include all of that information.
And the house itself, it's falling apart. So while you're trying to get the house on the market at this point in time, I don't feel that the house is marketable because it's falling apart. The shutters, I've sent pictures in, the shutters on the house is hanging off. The place is just going down. I mean, the outside structure is falling apart. And there has been no notice from Mr. Rick to any family members. Excuse me, my aunt has voiced several occasions that she's called and tried to speak with Mr. Rick, and he has been very short with her. He has told her that every time she calls, it's $100, and he's really tried to discourage any efforts that other family members has tried to put forth to assist with the estate and the maintenance on the estate. And I don't feel at this time he is a very good individual to continue to supervise this estate.
Well, Your Honor, let me just
Well,
say
Well,
that
he's
I'm not
he's
supervising
he's
the
not
estate.
Mr. Rick.
he's not. Hold on. He's not the supervisor of this estate. Essentially, I am, to the extent that matters are brought to my attention. He is the attorney for the personal representative. Uh, in terms of maintenance, certainly if there were funds available to pay for maintenance, those should be addressed. If there aren't funds available to pay for maintenance, personal representative is not required to fork over money from their own pocket to maintain an estate.
Well, we
Now,
never asked.
what could happen is if once a realtor is engaged, looks at the house, there's no question it could be sold in its current state, but I recognize that the sale value could be enhanced if some needed repairs are done. I'm not going to wade into that this morning, but if indeed a realtor suggests, before I put it on the market, I think you should do this, this, and this. If any funds are advanced for that purpose, obviously they would need to be reimbursed from the estate for that to happen. If there aren't any funds available, it'll just be sold as is, and it'll be reflected in the price. But this estate needs to get wrapped up. This is well past time, particularly in a market where real estate is moving pretty quickly. So I think that should happen, but I'm not in a position to order repairs today.
Let me just say, I have had no contacts. I've had no contacts from any person in this estate, and so I don't make this statement lightly. What Ms. Glenn told you is false. No one has called me. I have never discouraged anybody from talking to me about this estate.
Well, my aunt, Jacqueline, and I don't know, where she's at and why she's not here, but she has confided several times that she has made contact with you. And this was at the very beginning of your appointment. And,
all right. Well, I'm not going to deal with a contested issue. Are there any other issues, Ms. Glenn, that you wanted the court to address today?
Yes, it is. Like I said, the main thing is that my main concern is that these individuals that you have appointed, you appointed Mr. Rick to be to assist my aunt and those estate needs and requirements that the law have established. And I don't see that he's done any of that. It's been 2 years now. I don't see where he's done anything. He's not worked with the family in any way other than the personal representative. He's not reported different areas of the estate. There's been money paid into by the tenants that he has advised the courts that are residing there and that are paying out for different areas of the estate. He's done nothing. In my opinion.
All right. So Ms. Glenn, you're essentially repeating yourself.
Well,
I've taken steps today. I'm talking. Don't interrupt me. I've ordered that an amended inventory be filed. I've ordered that an accounting for the first annual accounting, and I want timely accountings if this goes on to another year, if not a final accounting, once the real estate is sold. And I'm ordering that the real estate be sold as expeditiously as possible.
But, okay, and another thing, Your Honor, and I've also asked that you recuse yourself because I don't see that you're looking out for the best interest of the estate. It's just what
I've already denied that motion, ma'am. I'm not going to hear any more about that today.
Well, that's what I think we need to do, is to discontinue.
All right, thank you. Mr. Rick, you'll prepare an order consistent with my ruling